Everybody's got a price, it's the $1 million man. Podcast in demand. Understand, everybody's got a price, $1 million man. Everybody's got a price, $1 million man. Everybody's got a pod, it's the $1 million man. Podcast in demand. Understand, everybody's got a price, $1 million man. Everybody's got a price.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus D'Angelo, and we are back for another episode of Everybody's Got a Pod. And of course, I'm joined by the man himself, WWE Hall of Famer, wrestling legend, the $1 million man, Ted DiBiase. Ted, what's going on, brother?
Hey, brother, it's you, man. Another day, another dollar.
Yes, sir.
Or maybe I should say another day, another million.
Well, we're getting after it today, my friend.
I
We've got
wish
really...
it were true.
That would be nice. I would certainly
yeah.
take $1 million. But man, we're this episode is going to be worth $1 million because we got some really fun stuff going on today. It is a look back to 1990, 35 years ago now, and your appearance at the Royal Rumble that year. Man, we've got some great notes to go over. I can't wait to get into them. Before we do, though, Ted, I'm not sure if you know this, but I've developed a relationship with Diamond Dallas Page, and I help him out a lot with his social media. And just before I started recording with you here, I called you and said, "Hey, are you ready?" And you're like, "Yeah, let's go." Right after you and I hung up, DDP calls me. And we were chatting just about a few work things. And then he said, "Well, what are you doing right now?" And I was like, "Well, I'm about to record with DiBiase." And he said, "Make sure you bring up that he's been talking to my buddy Josh Nair about starting to do DDP yoga again." And I was like, "Oh, no way." So, Ted, you're thinking about getting back into the program, are you?
Yeah, yeah. Me and Melanie both getting back into it.
All right. What was like the turning point? What made you decide you want to get back into it?
It's just like, I've done the yoga before. It's extremely beneficial, especially, Marcus, I'm going to be, in 2 days, I'm going to be 71 years old.
Happy early birthday.
And I'm like, it's the thing about DDP yoga is that it's something that will keep me flexible, if you know what I mean. Yes. And especially having, gone through the wrestling business and, like I'm just had this shoulder looked at, and basically the doctor, baby, he gave me a shot and he said, that should help you a lot. And he says, but, you got, like, what do you call it? Bone spurs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, yeah, the more I do DDP yoga, the better off I'll be. And I'm just confessing this. I mean, for me, it's like I'll get rolling on something and then something will happen and I'll miss a day and I'll miss another day and then I'm not doing it anymore. So I can't do that. I can't afford to do that at my age. I gotta keep it going. So, is the guy's name Josh?
Josh Nair, yes.
Yeah. So I need to get back in touch with Josh so we can get this thing rolling.
Man, I'm thrilled for you and Melanie. And yeah, I hope you guys keep after it because, man, getting to work for Dallas and see all these testimonials and people that he's helped, he's seriously working miracles over there, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It's like, the story about Rudy, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Rudy Rudiker, the guy who ended up playing for Notre Dame, right? They just wouldn't, he just wouldn't give up. And they finally put him in the game for a little bit.
And that's kind of what Dallas is, the opportunity that Dallas is giving people who refuse to give up and refuse to lay down. People that, as Dallas says, want to own their lives. Yeah. He's giving them a fighting chance with this stuff. It's incredible, man.
Yeah.
Well, look, let's jump into these notes. There's a lot going on in and around the WWF at this time, so we'll discuss a little bit of that. First of all, Ted, Barry Windham, after a short run as the Widowmaker, Barry Windham is going to stop showing up for the WWF, and that's going to put an end to his run in 1989. A lot of the rumors at the time were that it had to do with money or disappointment with his creative or whatever the usual thing is for wrestlers to stop showing up at work. Yeah. But according to Barry himself, it had everything to do with the counterfeiting scandal his family was dealing with at the time. Ted, I know that you knew Blackjack Mulligan and Kendall Windham. Do you remember anything about this whole counterfeiting scheme that they all got tied up in?
No, I mean, again, I was oblivious to that.
Kendall and Blackjack Mulligan went to federal prison because they were counterfeiting $20 bills.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, how about that?
How could this is amazing, brother. I mean, yeah, I don't know where you, it's like, maybe I just did my own thing and went home and didn't bother. But something like that, you would think I would know. I mean, Blackjack Mulligan, I mean, he was a great big guy, and he and Dick Murdoch were good friends, and him and Murdoch were going to partner up and kind of take over the Amarillo territory, but it never really happened. But good gosh almighty, I just never heard that. That's just incredible. And of course, my family's going through some crap here with the state of Mississippi, and I haven't done a thing wrong. Neither has my son. And it's one of those things. Well, the guy who was the director of the Department of Health and Human Services, who was the one we went to work for, he's the guy. They've already slapped him on the hands, and I guess he's on under house arrest. And he lives down in South Mississippi. His name's John Davis. And I said that's the scoundrel. If there's a scoundrel in this whole thing, it's him. So I guess we're not really not to be talking about it, but Teddy's, we're still not sure what's going to happen there.
Man, it's funny because there's all these narratives that float around on the internet. Then there's the narratives you get to hear on the news, and then there's the real story behind things.
Yeah.
And I know that we're not able to discuss it at length yet. Rest assured, though, down the line, I think you and I are going to have a lengthy conversation on the podcast about what happened.
Oh, we will. I guarantee that.
That's going to be one to stay tuned for, folks. Well, okay, so you didn't know about the counterfeiting thing with Blackjack and Kendall Windham, which is absolutely wild. But again, I think for reference, a lot of people commented last week on the fact that you didn't know about the racist comments from Hulk Hogan that I smartened you up on. And folks, the fact of the matter is that all of us as wrestling fans are constantly scrolling the internet. We're reading the dirt sheets. We're hearing all this narrative. Ted is not involved in that world. To Ted, this was just his job.
Yeah. I don't read all that crap.
No. So
for the fans listening in, who I mean, they do. I'm grateful. I'm eternally grateful for fans and for and for their support. It's kind of like I can't get into a lot about what's going on with us, but. I guess one attorney put it this way. If you didn't have a celebrity name, Ted, none of this would be happening now.
I 1,000,000% believe that.
This is all, because somebody wants to be famous.
But folks, if you think that back in 1990 or in modern day, Ted's reading the dirt sheets or scrolling social media looking for wrestling news, I got news for you. I know Ted well enough to know that shit is not happening.
No. No, I mean, it's like, I don't care about all that stuff. I went and I did my job, and and I'll be honest, doing my job took enough time up that it's like the last thing I wanted to hear about, look at, or talk about was wrestling. When I came home, it's like I shut that sucker off, because it did consume so much of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if the fans understand the way we traveled. It's I mean, especially in the early days when we were all driving our own cars, it was crazy. And
I would venture to get, like, you were waking up in hotels and you told me you had to look at the phone to remember what city you were in the hotel room. I would venture to guess that you didn't even think about Blackjack Mulligan in the entire year of 1990, let alone know what was going on with him in this counterfeiting scheme.
No, I have no idea. I know that he and Dick Murdoch were friends, and I think they were talking about going together and like buying out the Funks, and for the Amarillo territory before Vince went, national and international, but it never worked out.
Mhm.
So yeah, I knew Blackjack real well, and I knew Barry, I know Barry too. So, it's just crazy.
Well, speaking of Barry, because I know that you weren't aware of the counterfeiting deal, but Barry Windham, a really, really great talent, is leaving the WWF. Regardless of the circumstances, he's gone. And he's there for less than a year. And he's there under this gimmick, which is like, okay, whatever. It's the Widowmaker gimmick. But Barry himself has said that he was in the best shape of his life during this period. I mean, he was big, he was strong, he was really kind of ready for this moment, and then it just doesn't really work out. So, Ted, I want to ask you. Do you think that Barry had what it took to become like a top heel in the WWF, or do you think he was lacking the promo skills necessary for success there?
Well, again, I wasn't around Barry for a long enough period of time. It's like I didn't work with him day in and day out, for several months where I could, make an evaluation. Yeah, very, very, very good, very good wrestler. Could he have been a top heel? Possibly. I mean, both, and I'm saying this because, and I think you would find this to be true too. Most of the guys who got into wrestling because their father was a wrestler make it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't make it because they're shown any favoritism. As a matter of fact, it's a little bit harder, when you've got a name to live up to do it.
Barry had a huge leg up stepping into the door in wrestling. Very, very talented. I mean, I've heard guys like Arn Anderson and a lot of others say like probably the best in-ring worker they'd ever laid eyes on, especially for a guy his size. So unbelievably skilled. It's just, sometimes things just aren't a good fit, and it seems like that was the case for him in the WWF by and large.
Yeah. Yeah.
Outside the WWF, some territories are starting to close their doors in the wake of what Vince McMahon has been doing in wrestling. The Continental Wrestling Federation and Stampede Wrestling, run by Stu Hart, they're both going to go defunct at the end of 1989. And the CWA, Jerry Jarrett's promotion, is going to merge with the USWA, which is his other promotion, which he bought out in Dallas. And the AWA is on the ropes during the same period. They're going to be out of business in something like a year. So, I mean, Ted, the territories are disappearing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they saw it was coming,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the thing is that it's kind of like there's a good side to it, and a bad side to it. Wrestling used to be very territorial. And now that Vince has like done what he's done, and obviously this has happened over years.
Ted, on one hand, it's kind of a cool thing for you. The company that you're working for is kicking so much ass that they're eliminating any and all competition. On the other hand, like as I know that you were aware at the time, nobody's run in a territory lasts forever. You yourself had been jumping from Georgia to Mid-South to all over the map.
Yeah.
And now you're here in the WWF, and hey, cool, my company's on top. But what happens when you leave the company? So, Ted, I say all that to say all these territories starting to go away. Were you concerned at all during this time?
You know what? I really wasn't concerned. What was funny is that the other thing that had happened for me is that I had been going to Japan once a year, All Japan Pro Wrestling, Giant Baba. I could have stayed in Japan, is what I'm saying. It's like if I had I could have continued the thing I had in being Stan Hansen's tag team partner in Japan, and who knows where that would have gone, but. And I would have done very well, but it's kind of like I said, if I'm going to stay relevant here in my own country, then I'm going to have to go to work for Vince McMahon, and that's when I told Giant Baba that I was going to have to, cut out, and he understood. He said, "You know what? The door's always open whenever you want to come back." So.
I got you. So if the bottom fell out, let's say Vince decided he's going to fire you during this period for whatever reason, you always had a place to go in Japan, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, nice. That's a
Yep.
good parachute.
But it's incredible what Vince did, and not really it didn't take too long either.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, when he started booking, well, and that's the same, all the talent in the country, all the wrestlers, then his significance realized, if I'm going to continue to be in this business and make any money, I'm going to have to go to work for Vince McMahon. And that was the truth.
Okay, everybody, let's take a minute to talk about the Perfect Gene. My goodness, I absolutely love these guys. When they signed on as a sponsor and I got some of their stuff in the mail, it just reinforced that they're a company that I am more than happy to personally endorse. These products are absolutely unbelievable, whether it's the shirts or the jeans, whatever it is that you're getting from the Perfect Gene. I know definitively that you are going to be satisfied with how they feel and how you look in them. The shirts are unbelievable, and I've talked about them here on the podcast before, but I've also received multiple pairs of jeans, and let me tell you, they fit like a dream. They look fantastic, and more than anything, what I am most interested in at my age is comfort. And dude, these are so comfortable. I sometimes forget I'm wearing pants. It's like wearing bed pants or like sweatpants or something. They are so comfortable, not like any jean you've ever had. And seriously, guys, you got to try it. Forget about those stiff, cardboard, uncomfortable jeans that you've been buying for years and years just because you know the brand and you know how they feel. You know the right size for you. A lot of guys compromise. I know I certainly did. I kept buying the same kind of jeans over and over and over again. Even though they weren't necessarily comfortable, they were comfortable to me because I was familiar with them. Now I'm a Perfect Gene guy and I'm never looking back. These jeans fit like they were custom made and they stretch unbelievably well. They look fantastic and soft as a baby's bottom, folks. Here's the other thing though, they're durable. So if you've got a special someone in your life who's pulling your pants down for you every so often, they're going to last all that wear and tear, baby. They make a massive range of sizes. So if you're a larger guy, smaller guy, skinny guy, heavy guy, doesn't matter. They've got you covered. They've got sizes from 26 to 50 and lengths 26 to 38. So, I mean, boy, you are going to cover a lot of ground with that. For a limited time, our listeners are going to get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectgene.nyc or Google The Perfect Gene and use code EGAP15. You're going to get 15% off. All right, so I've been waiting for this moment for a while. I couldn't wait to show you guys what it's like when you unpack the Perfect Gene. I've already received a pair in the mail and I've been wearing them around. I got another pair because I love them so much, and I'm going to show you how they come to your house. Oh, let's dig this out here. All right, so nice packaging here, and then boom, you've got this really nice zipper packaging. Let me go ahead and crack that open. And we'll have a look at this pair of jeans. Ted and I ended up getting the exact same kind of jeans because we both agreed that they look fantastic. And I mean, look at these. Look at the quality. I mean, unbelievable. It's got this really cool looking button on it. And I know I can feel how comfortable they are. I know definitively when I put these on, they're going to be some of the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn. Seriously, guys, I used to go with other brands. I'm never looking back. I'm never looking back. I love the Perfect Gene. They've got a customer for life. Whether they're endorsing this podcast or not, I'm a Perfect Gene guy forever. And look, I've said it before here on the podcast. It's not just the jeans. Those t-shirts that they make are really great. They have got a little bit of space around the trunk, so if you put on a couple extra pounds, they're going to hide that belly, but they're also going to accentuate your arms and chest and make you look more muscular. These shirts are soft. You don't have to worry about them shrinking. It's just perfect. I mean, the Perfect Gene name really fits all of these products. Not to mention, gang, the Perfect Gene always has free shipping. So we're talking about exchanges and returns. You can have peace of mind knowing that your order is completely risk-free. How many things do you invest in that are totally risk-free? There's not a lot of them. The Perfect Gene is it. It's time to stop crushing your balls, dude. Those uncomfortable jeans have got to go. It's time to go to theperfectgene.nyc. Our listeners get 15% off your first order plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges when you use code EGAP15 at checkout. Again, it's 15% off for new customers at theperfectgene.nyc with our promo code EGAP15. After you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please hook us up, support the show, tell them that we sent you. Your khakis, dude, and get the Perfect Gene. Well, Ted, on the way to the Rumble, you'll have a match with Jake that's pretty significant for your rivalry. Let's go ahead and drop in on this moment and what will be our only clip this week.
DiBiase is really going to work on Mr. Peak. There's no offense here at all on the part of Lee Peak.
Plenty offense from the $1 Million Man, though.
Yeah.
And he's setting him up. He's going for the $1 Million dream. Look at all that. Look at all that cash, McMahon.
Yeah, I'll say. I bet it'd buy you pretty easy. I know one man it wouldn't buy. I think he's with us now.
You're too much, man. DiBiase gonna stand up here and say, if you want the belt, you can come and get it. Brother, we don't need no special invitation sent in the mail, no card, no letter, no nothing. You're good enough for me, and there's no time like the present for Damien and I to do just that.
I wouldn't swear to it, but I think that means what? A Jake the Snake.
Here he comes! Jake the Snake coming into the ring! Virgil attacking him. Actually, it's Jake attacking Virgil. DiBiase and Jake the Snake going at it. Now, what right does Roberts have to come down and interfere in DiBiase's match? He was invited. You heard what he said. You want it, come and get it. And there it is, the $1 Million belt. And Jake the Snake has it. Jake the Snake has the $1 Million belt in his hand. This is ridiculous, McMahon. He sneaks into the ring, comes in from the backside, doesn't face DiBiase, man against man. I know what he's doing with it. He's saying, if you want it, come and get it. Look, Virgil, torn between helping DiBiase and coming after the belt. Oh, that's great. That's going into the bag with Damien the Snake. He's a thief, McMahon. He has no right to that belt.
What a reaction Jake got there for stealing the belt, man.
Oh gosh, yeah, and that was priceless. It was, and again, I get asked by fans all the time, like, well, who was the best guy who did you love to wrestle and whatever and what have you, and it's really hard to narrow it down to one person. But at the top of the list, I would have, Jake was one of them. In terms of being, like there were several guys like Dick Murdoch, Killer Carl Cox. Those guys were they were the stars when I was beginning, just like when Jake was beginning. With Jake, when I first met Jake, he was a referee.
Mm.
He was Fred Platt, the referee. And so when he and I got together, I mean, it was just one of those things. And I think part of it was, we both grew up in the business. Both of our fathers were wrestlers, and not always, but most of the time, when you see a guy who has been raised in the wrestling business and their father was a wrestler, they're going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Dory Funk Jr., Terry Funk, Iron Mike DiBiase, Ted DiBiase, Grizzly Smith, who was with Jake's dad, and there's Jake. Who else we got? Well, Blackjack Mullivan, Barry Windham. Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's like, it doesn't always happen, but 90% of the time it does.
The track record is there. Nowadays you see Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton.
Exactly.
A lot of really talented folks who are second or third or even fourth generation wrestlers.
Yeah. So.
Well, I was joking with Jake about this moment on the podcast because we covered this exact same thing on the Snake Pit. And one of the things that I brought up to him is like, it's kind of funny to see Vince McMahon's sort of skewed perception of things through this angle, which is like, it's okay for my baby face to steal something as long as the guy he's stealing it from is an asshole. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. Ted, what do you make of that? Is it fine for a baby face to do this to a heel, even though it's kind of morally wrong?
Hey, it's wrestling. Yeah, it was, if I would do it, I mean, I think that I would. It's kind of like, because I'm a heel and everybody knows I'm a heel, and they want to see me get my ass kicked, and the whole thing about the snake is like most of whoever Jake's going to wrestle doesn't want to get anywhere near that snake, and I didn't want to get anywhere near the snake, but
for a shoot.
but so like he says, he picks up my belt and goes, "You want the belt? Go get it." I thought it was great.
For my money, it's a good moment. Jake's got this anti-hero kind of vibe to him. He always has, where he's like, he's a good guy, but whenever he beats somebody, he kind of humiliates them. He puts the snake on them and stuff like that. So it's like, he's a good guy who's kind of a badass. And I think that it works.
Yeah. And I think that's the best way to go.
Jake mentioned that even though he was supposed to be in possession of the belt, of course, after this, that the WWF still wanted you to travel with the belt, and they'd give it to him once everyone was at the building. So, Ted, you're still traveling with the belt. You've been traveling with it for like a year at this point now. How much of a pain in the ass was it to travel around with the belt in a Halliburton, and this thing is valued at like $40,000?
It was a real pain in the ass. I mean, and again, they took a Halliburton briefcase and gutted it, put foam padding in it, and basically made it look like a ring box. And the belt fit right down. When it was folded, it fit right in that Halliburton briefcase. And I had to take that thing everywhere I went, and I remember one night, I think we were in Boston, and we went somewhere after the show and had a few drinks and everything. Something I don't know what got into me about, oh my gosh, where's the belt? Where's the belt? We went back to whoever I rode over there with, when it wasn't there, and come to find out, I don't know, I put it in the referee's trunk or something. But I was always afraid I was going to, $40,000.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I had to carry a thing with me anytime we went across the border, and we go back and forth to Canada a little bit, but anywhere we went, I had to, where I was going through customs, and I had to show them, something that, its estimated value, and that's what it was, $40,000.
I mean, for our listeners, just imagine walking around with a briefcase with like $40,000 cash in it. That's essentially what Ted was having to do here all over the country.
Well, because and again, all the stones in the belt, they're not all diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the stones in the face of the belt, they're called what you call cubic zirconium. And when I heard that, I asked my wife. I said, "What the hell is that?" And she goes, "That means they're almost a diamond, but not quite." I don't know how you can be almost and not, anyway. So, each one of those stones, I guess, was worth about $50. There were 700 of them in the face of the belt. And I think I've already told this to a lot of people, but if you looked on the back of the belt, where nobody ever saw the back of the belt,
mm-hmm.
but at the back of the belt, at the top, on the back was, and I said, "What this?" And I said, "They said, well, there were three little." I said, "Well, what are those?" And they told me, they said, "Ted, those are real diamonds." Why? Nobody's going to see them. He says, "Well, if anybody ever asks you, are the diamonds in the belt real? You can say yes, and you won't be lying." Gosh, so anyway, there you go.
Well, Jake also mentioned when I was talking to him about this that he used to mess with you a little bit with this belt, and he'd maybe swipe it every once in a while or hide it from you and get you all worried about it. Do you have any memories?
Yeah. He was, that's what guys do. Yeah. But here's the thing. I said, well, well, I wonder what I could do to Jake. I said, well, I could get Damien and Heidi, but your brother, I didn't want to get anywhere near that snake.
Jake would have been relieved to have that thing gone for a night or two. He'd be like, oh, good. Somebody else is dealing with him.
Gosh.
That thing was like, he would put it in the bathroom overnight when he's in a hotel room.
Yeah.
And he'd put it in like a bathtub, but sometimes this thing would come up out of the tub. He said every once in a while it would like tear the sink off the wall, tear the toilet out of the floor. Like, and who's stuck paying for it? Jake?
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, thank you. I don't think I'd like to travel with one.
No.
Well, let's get to the Royal Rumble. It's a sellout in Orlando. 16,000 fans turn out for this big show. Pat Patterson, your old pal, he's credited with the creation of the Royal Rumble concept. And of course, it's just a unique spin on the Battle Royal. It's people coming out in 60 or 90-second intervals, and it's a good way to have it without the clusterfuck that is a Battle Royal. Ted, what did you think about being involved in these Rumbles? Did you like doing them?
Well, they were. It was, to me, it was an easier night because you get in the ring, you're fighting with a bunch of guys doing stuff. The only thing you had to remember is when it was your time to go out and who you followed. And then just set something up with somebody and over the top you go.
You're the first guy in this Rumble and one of the last eliminated. You go 44 minutes. You were getting after it here in this one. It's crazy. It's like it's got to take a lot of endurance and it's got to be exhausting. Like, what do you remember about being in the ring for that period of time?
Oh gosh, I want to forget. Well, yeah. I mean, it was a long time, but. And where it got exhausting is that, after so many guys had been out, and when it got down to the last, 2 or 3 of us, then you had to do more, it was a little more work, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because now the focus is on 3 or 4 people. And, but I made it.
Playoffs. We're talking about playoffs. You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns, of course, is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by getting them on DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. You ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Boy, let me tell you, that first round of the playoffs was something else. Some incredible games. And right now, here's how the lines are shaping up for the divisional round of the playoffs. We've got the Los Angeles Rams at +2.5 against the Minnesota Vikings. The Houston Texans are at +7.5 against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Commanders are at +9.5 at the Detroit Lions. And the Bills are at +1.5 against the Ravens. It's some exciting action, and you can get in on it. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code. That's code for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Ted, there's a rumor about you from this Rumble, and I'm glad that we're finally going to get to address it once and for all. It was actually Nick Smith who wrote in on your Facebook page to ask this question. I'm glad he did. He asked, is it true that you were terribly hungover for this Rumble? That's been a rumor for years.
Yeah, that's a possibility. That's why. I'll be honest with you. That's why. Yeah, of course, my attitude was, it's the Royal Rumble. It's like, there's going to be a bunch of guys. I'm not going to have a whole lot to remember, whatever. And when Pat Patterson came up to me And he leaned over and said, he says, Ted, he says, I wouldn't eat too much if I were you. I said, why? He says, well, you're going to be the first guy in tonight and next to the last guy out. So you're going to be in there for about 30 or 40 minutes.
I want the listeners to think about that for a second. Here, you get to the building and you're like, I'm hungover, but I can do this. I can kind of hide in a battle Royal Rumble. You can like sell and get in the corner and all that, all those tricks of the trade. And then Pat's like, by the way, you're going to be out there for a long time.
Yeah.
Just miserable.
And that's the other thing is it's like, it wasn't like, I wasn't a lush. I didn't go out every night to the bars and get sloshed and, drunk and hungover, like I would usually have a beer or two or whatever, but I guess it was I don't know. I guess my reasoning was because it was the Royal Rumble. I was high. Go ahead, Ted. Yeah. Way to go.
You paid for it.
When I got to the building, that's when Pat Patterson came up and had whispered to me. He says, Ted, he says, I wouldn't eat too much if I were you. He says, you're going to be in there from the beginning to the end.
Oh, man, too
Gee,
funny. Yeah. What are the odds? You decide to cut loose at night and then you pay for it the next day?
Yeah.
Well, Ted, last questions about the Royal Rumble, and we're going to wrap this one up. They're just kind of general ones about modern day, what's going on with the Rumble. Ted, I'm not sure if you know this, but women now have their own Royal Rumble event, and it's set to expand to 2 days. So, historically, the Rumble, of course, is just one pay-per-view. It's like a 3-hour pay-per-view. Now, WWE is taking it across 2 separate days. First of all, Ted, women having their own Royal Rumble, you think you'd ever live to see that? Pretty interesting, huh?
Well, I didn't know that I would ever live to see it, but hey, why not? I mean, they're, if they can, I mean, they've got, you've got the men's division and you've got the women's division. So why should the women's division have anything less than the men?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's cool. It's a fun era to be a wrestling fan because it's, back in the day we get like glimpses of it. We'd see people like Wendy Richter or Alundra Blaze, people like that, and say like, boy, that was a fun women's match. Then it's like, okay, I guess we'll see it again in a couple months, because they just weren't featuring them. And now it's, we get to see it every Monday on Raw. So it's really cool that they're being featured the way that they are.
Yeah, that's cool.
Now, what about spreading it over 2 nights, man? It's 2 3-hour events now, which is just wild. 2 separate nights for a Rumble. I don't know. Do you think it's overkill, or is this a good thing for the business?
It's hard for me to say. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, like I don't know what they're going to do to enhance that. I mean, something's got to happen the first night that's going to want everybody to come back for the second night.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what that would be. So
I guess they're just going to treat it same way as they're treating Mania in these recent years with 2 nights of Mania, where it's like you've got one main event one night. Oh, here's a storyline we've been waiting to culminate, and then another main event the other night. So I don't know. I guess that's probably the strategy.
Yeah.
Or the amount of money that the WWF is making, or WWE is making now from these manias is wild. I had a buddy who went to this most recent WrestleMania in Philadelphia. He only went for one night. He bought 3 seats, and they were mediocre seats at best. Probably I wouldn't even call them mediocre. They weren't great seats in a stadium, and he spent $1,500 for those 3 tickets. I went to WrestleMania in 2013 in a similar section. I spent $60 for my ticket. So, I mean, this is over 2 nights now. I mean, the gates that they must be making at these buildings.
So this guy, he had bought 3 tickets. So he paid $500 a ticket.
Yep.
Wow. How much does it cost to go to an NFL football game?
Less than that. At least last time I was at one, I think I spent. I'll get like a mid-level seat, and sometimes even a little bit better. At one point, I was like 11 rows back for a game, and I think I spent $110 for my ticket.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, God bless the boys nowadays, man. They got to be making money hand over fist with the kind of gates and television deals and endorsement rights and stuff like that. They're enjoying.
Wow.
So a whole new world, man. Hey, look, before we wrap this up, I did want to mention something else unrelated to the Royal Rumble subject. It's something I completely forgot to hit at the top of the show, and I want to hit it now before we end it. A professional wrestler passed away here recently, Ted, and I'm not sure if you spent any time around him at all, so I'll ask you now. Black Bart recently passed away. Did you get to know Bart at all?
Yeah, I didn't know him well, and I wasn't around him very much, and but the time that I did have around him, he seemed like a likable guy. I mean, I never really went out with him anywhere, had dinner. I'd see him in the building, in the dressing rooms, and the hotels and stuff like that. We might have had coffee or something together one time or two, but it's like, he wasn't like a really close friend, but he, in my experience with him, he seemed to be a pretty nice guy. What's everybody else think?
I mean, a lot of people have had really positive things to say about him. I want to say it was JBL took to social media and said that Bart really kind of took him under his wing and helped him along when he was new in the business. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's by and large, it seems like he was a well-liked guy. So, what a shame, man. It feels like we get one of these every couple months now, and it's sad.
How old was he?
I don't know. I want to say he was in his early 80s, but I don't know that for sure. Man, this was a really fun episode. I appreciate you taking the time with me today to discuss Royal Rumble 1990. Folks, we will be picking up the story again. It's going to be in March to talk about WrestleMania 6, one of the most famous WrestleManias of all time. Of course, it's got the title switch with Warrior and Hogan. More importantly, the best match on the card was DiBiase and Jake Roberts. So we'll be discussing all of that. And my friend, I'll look forward to discussing. I think we might do Mid-South Wrestling 1985, 40 years ago next week. What do you think?
Wow. Okay.
All right. We'll take a look at all of it. And I look forward to chatting with you, brother.
All righty. Hey, thank you very much, brother. And all of you fans out there, thank you for being a fan, but never forget that everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
We'll see you guys next time right here on Everybody's Got a Pod.